Hey guys, today I want to talk with you about 5 things that I will never change back if or when the corona crisis is ended. And I want to discuss with you not only my personal feelings, my personal opinion about it, but also the financial benefit, which is astonishing. And what is even more amazing is the fact that how much CO2 reduction this gives me. Only me. I'm not talking about my company, but just what I do. So stay tuned and watch my video. One of the most beautiful things for me to see in the current time is that the communication is way better. It's incredible that in a time of crisis, in a time of people being torn away from what they normally do, everybody in their individual home, communication is something that's clustered. At least my team. And it's beautiful to see that the modern technologies finally are embraced by everybody. Video conferences, but also chatting with an easy tool like Microsoft Teams is something what half a year ago was impossible for a lot of people. They just did not accept it. And now it's possible. Everybody is really using the software tools, but they're really willing to do so. So communication is definitely one of the things that I will try to keep the way it is now. Email for me is one of the most useless communication ways what we have within a company. Of course, email can be very efficient. You can do a lot of things very good by emails. It always comes down to the fact that email you use for facts, stating the facts, try to eliminate as much emotion as possible and try to just make sure that the other party receives the information clean. Email is not meant for a discussion about a subject. Email is not meant for any kind of emotion for that matter. So for me, using other tools, especially video calls, it's way better. Of course, I do miss the personal meetings there, and I really think that in many cases one personal meeting instead of a video call would be better and we could eliminate issues way easier. But the fact that we can now eliminate emails in a very significant way, that's something I will never change back. And in my case, I calculated it would be also have a reduction of the CO2 footprint. It's not that much though, it's around 35 kilos a year, but hey, it's a start of reducing your footprint even if you can. And can you imagine that if my whole team would reduce with the same amount, also around 100 emails a day, and you could extrapolate that, the impact of our total company, the reduction of our total company is still rather significant. The second thing what definitely changed during the COVID-19 crisis within the last, let's say, 2 months is the way we do meetings. I read a very interesting article in the magazine of MIT, the Sloan's magazine, and there was an article about the fact that the manager would have around 23 hours a week of meetings, and most of them actually are rather inefficient and ineffective. Well, I can agree to that. I first of all think I will make my 23 hours. I actually think I will make even a bit more. So fair warning, if you ever go on to work for a Japanese company, you will be in a lot of meetings. Trust me, meetings and reports, that's something what's in a Japanese company. During COVID-19 crisis, it actually changed. Especially our internal meetings, it's totally changed. And I can see a reduction close to 30% there. So that's quite a lot of time what is reduced in meetings. And it's kind of weird because you would expect that with more communication, with more video calls, your meetings would actually be more, which is, if you look to the quantity in items, it is true. I think I have more meetings, but they are way shorter and definitely also way more effective. So it's a big change. A while back, let's say before Corona, a lot of these meetings, even though we did already try to make it effective, even though we did already try that everybody would be prepared, we see that it just didn't work as efficient as it does now. It seems there is a culture change, not only internally, not only with headquarters, not only with clients, but everywhere, that you are more able to make quick, short meetings. Perhaps it's born out of necessity. It could be. Perhaps it's also that video conference is quite intensive. If you do this the whole day, I can't. I can't at least. So I think that this combination forced us to change the way of having a meeting. So the financial benefit of the less communication, it's very difficult to calculate. The same as with the financial benefit of the meetings, the more efficient meeting. Sure, I could calculate time by hourly rate, blah, 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 and make some kind of beautiful calculation. But to be honest, it doesn't really make sense because in my case and in most formal personnel, it is fixed cost. The salaries are fixed cost. So it's mostly the fun. It's mostly that it's more joyful to work, more easy to work together. What makes it the most beautiful, and it's not that it is financially, beneficial. It's in my opinion not one of the items what I should discuss about this benefit. It's perhaps the CO2. I think that's actually even more beneficial than the financial benefits. Number 3 on my list is, of course, one of the most logical things and one of the things what everybody's talking about, the reduction of the amount of flights. To be very honest, I fly a lot. It's very common for me to fly around Europe. It's very common to me for me to fly intercontinental to the US, to Japan, to headquarters. So many companies, I work with, many group companies as well, but also customers and other stakeholders, they do not accept, or they did not accept actually, that you would go into a video conference with them. They wanted to meet up face to face, have a dinner afterwards, and it basically meant that I would fly in for one day for one meeting to one location and then fly out in the evening or the next morning to my next meeting somewhere else, and this 2 or 3 or 4 days after each other. That means that I would have 5 or sometimes even 6 flights within 4 days. It's ridiculous, and I already tried to eliminate that, but it was an impossible thing. So for me, it's very easy to say that now we will change it and we'll learn from it. It was the way it was, and most of these meetings were replaced now by video conference. I do think that I will keep up using a plane for our meetings, but it's less. I really learned that you can do way more meetings using the digital systems. So I made a little calculation, and like I said, I think I can make a reduction of around 20,000 kilometers less flying, and that would mean that there would be a reduction of around 5,000 kilograms of CO2, and it would also mean, give or take, a reduction of around 7,000 euros. The same discussion what you can have about planes is also for cars. And what I see is that within the company, many of my employees, especially my sales team, is driving an extreme amount of kilometers. 80,000 kilometers is easy for them. We are working in a European based, so a lot of our sales members are driving around Europe or flying around Europe, and we now see with the same things what I discussed with the airplane, using other tools makes it easy to drive a lot less. In my personal case, it's around 15,000 kilometers less what I estimate what I can drive less than what I'm doing now, but in some of the cases it's way more. I will make an additional video about cars and how we will change actually our way of transport with cars. So if you want to know all about that, subscribe to my channel and we will definitely come to that. It's massive to see how much reduction you can actually have by driving less with your car. In my case, when I drive around 15,000 kilometers less, which I will make this year using all the new tools, I would have a reduction of 3.3 tons of CO2. That's massive. Next to the fact that I will have a lot less cost, it's a little bit tricky to calculate that, but if I make a calculation in my case, it means around 7,500 euros less cost for driving. It's easy. It's an easy calculation. If you can do a meeting using a video conference instead of driving there, you need to do it by a video conference. Don't drive. It makes no sense. And what you see again, that nowadays, thanks to the coronavirus crisis here in Europe, people accept it, and I will never change that back. I will really keep pushing everybody, saying, hey, we could do this during the corona crisis. Let's keep it up. Let's try to be more friendly to the world. Let's try to be more friendly to both of our wallets actually by driving less. And sure, we will meet up. We will find time to have a good dinner together to make sure that we do the business bonding which is needed for a long-term commitment towards each other. But all the in-between meetings, let's do them by a video conference. I had a discussion in September, October last year with HR, and it was a German HR lady, to be honest, and she said, working from home? Nah, it doesn't work. People don't work when they are home. They're playing with the kids. They don't do their jobs. You cannot track and trace if they are actually, working, and it's way too complicated. We won't do that. It's impossible to do. People need to come to the office to work. I didn't understand that. And it was for me weird to see that somebody from HR actually didn't trust our employees to work from home. And it's actually rather funny to see that now, when everybody needs to work from home, otherwise the whole company would not run, most of us are doing a better job than what they did before, giving them the trust to do their job and do it in the way, the time they want. Gives them a lot of joy. And you can see, sure, that there are some things what you cannot do from home, and there are some things what was more difficult when you are from home. It's less effective, let's say. But a lot of things you can do from home. And it would be impossible a year ago, let's say, that if you would have a meeting from home, that you would hear a child somewhere screaming or crying, a baby crying. And you can still see that people don't really feel comfortable, especially the parents, which I understand, because if your baby is crying, you want to go. But it's at least accepted by the rest of the team. It's actually even accepted when you discuss that with stakeholders. They understand, or any kind of customer. They understand. It's fine. Of course, if it's a 1.5 hour meeting and a baby is crying for 1.5 hours, that's not something comfortable. But just a sound of a child or a child walking into the camera, it's less annoying for other people. So working from home seems to be more accepted, which is for me very, very, very nice to see. I love working from home and I will never change it back. I really think that most of the office personnel in our company can work at least 1 or perhaps even 2 days, depending on the type of job, from home. And I read some articles about, for example, Renault in France, who says, hey, I only want you 1.5 days a week in the office. I don't know if that's the way to go. It seems more a cost reduction than really thinking about, hey, does it make sense? But on average, let's go for 1.5 days working from home, with the scope of going to 2 days. I think that's easy to do, and it makes your life a lot easier. And what I can see with my team is that they picked this up, this freedom, which we finally could actually create for everybody, and they picked it up very nicely. They loved it, and I'm so proud of that everybody is doing their job from home, and in most cases actually even better, and with way more joy than what they did before. And it doesn't really matter if this gives me a financial benefit, and to be very honest, I don't know if it gives me a CO2 benefit, an eco footprint benefit. I don't know. Of course I can calculate it, but it doesn't really make sense. But it's again very much connected to the traveling, the less traveling, and I really think that working from home, travel less, be less part of the traffic jams, the major issues what we have with transport in Europe, especially in the crowded areas. By working from home, you can help others who do need to go to work to be there on time and to reduce the costs on a global scale, at least on a European scale. So, to sum up, thanks to better communication and less emails and more effective meetings, I can travel a lot less, using less times the airplane and traveling less kilometers by car, and I can work more from home. This not only gives me and my team a major increase in joy, it also decreases, for me personal, the CO2 footprint by 8.5 tons a year, and it reduces the cost for me personally by close to 15,000 euros a year. That's incredible. And can you imagine what this will do with when I extrapolate this towards the whole company, towards all the different people that are working within the group? If everybody would do the same, and if everybody would try to do their part, the financial impact, first of all, which is good for the shareholders, but I think way more important is the reduction of your eco footprint as a company. By just changing your way of thinking. Think about that.